it's now time for us to be held accountable. It's now time for us to do our job. We must do our job. And by then we will do our job. We will be coming in with newer ways and better ways of collecting money so we are able to save costs, pay more, and do value addition to our members. In the Olympics, the national anthem that was played to the world at the closing ceremony twice was the Kenyan national anthem. Recently, that says that DJs, when they do a mix requires a license. If you go into the Corporate Act, you'll not see something called piracy. But in the Corporate Act, you'll find something called an illegal reproduction. Content is supposed to remain its original form. Whenever you move it to any other source, it's a reproduction. The truth of the matter is that it's now time for we in such positions to be held accountable because, quite frankly, most of the issues that the creative industry had, most of the issues that the music industry had have now been addressed by the previous government, by the current government, so that the problems we had way back the late 2007 and so forth, where there were no policies, there were no structures, the law was in place, but because of a lack of awareness, the law was not being enforced. Truthfully, way back, we didn't have the government support, we didn't have the government speaking and saying, pay for the royalties, respect the artist rights. Those are now a thing of the past. Recently, I don't know if you saw when, for example, the president's led passing of a law that said that 50% of money from Skiza tunes goes to the artist. The effect of that is massive. But imagine the president is stepping into, let's call it a small industry for now, and passing laws of that nature. That shows you how much interest that the government had. I recently looked at the 100 days plan for UDA, and part of it is that within the first 100 days, the UDA government was saying that they'll come up with a royalty management system to ensure that the creative industry is protected, to ensure that artists' royalties are paid, to ensure that the collective management organizations are able to perform their role, identify works, pay royalties. Imagine that it being in a manifesto. Imagine that we are at that stage. This is why I'm saying that the problem is just that we always hear about honestly should be a thing of the past and will be a thing of the past if they're still there. And truthfully, if you look back from 2007 to now, the amount of money artists are making from the digital space, my God, is in the millions. Some are billionaires. They just don't speak about it, but there's a lot of money that is exchanged in that space, in the digital space, on Skiza tunes, on YouTube, Google. One of my close friends, Clemo, he runs Ngoma. If you go on YouTube, you'll see the Ngoma. Yes, they pay a lot of money out to the creative industry, to artists. But they are not just artists, performers, actors. Anyone who's able to post something on YouTube and monetize it gains from this. But I know the impression we all have is it's just a musician's thing. No, it's the creative space that is gaining. So the point I want to make is this. We were at a place when there were problems in the industry. The structures, the systems that are now in place should be able to make us, overcome those problems and challenges. The law is now very clear. Law has been amended severally to make sure that we're able to perform our work. The Kenya Corporate Board has also helped us in engaging us in structuring the laws to be able to do our job. I'll give another example. When I joined, for example, MCSK 2007, it was almost impossible to collect money from broadcasting stations. Would you believe that Kenya Corporate Board and the CAK issued a statement pursuant to the presidential directive that, hey, corporate laws must be respected? Kenya Corporate Board, CAK, joint statement saying, in 2019, saying, we will not renew your broadcast license if you don't pay for the corporate license. Imagine that. I think we're the only country in the world where government is coming out that strongly. And that's why I say, the story of the problems, yes, they have been there, but the truth is, it's now time for us to be held accountable. It's now time for us to do our job. We must do our job. And by then we will do our job. On my WhatsApp status, I like to say Mark 9:23, and I think you asked me this the last time. Mark 9:23. All things are possible for those who believe. Once you believe that you can do something, you will. And I'm happy we're doing this interview very early, so that now you see I'm talking about holders accountable, will deliver. You will see the kind of money we'll bring in a very short while for the creative sales. So no more problems. I know that we're going to be doing, that there will be no more issues coming up.
Okay. Speaking of accountability, please tell us clearly your job as CEO, what your role will be, and what are the most pressing issues that you want to handle first in your first few months in office.
At my interview, one of the questions I was asked is, what will you achieve in the first 100 days? And I said, I'll achieve my entire 5-year plan within my first 70 days. Why? I was bringing back experience that I had, one from MCSK. So I honestly, I understand what needs to be done. And for me, it was just a continuation of where I'd left at MCSK. And I'm happy I found a very good team, for example, here at KAMP, that is very supportive. Excellent team, excellent board. And it has enabled me to just jump up and run. Within my first 30 days, this is my first month in, one of the things that we will to pass a broadcast licensing strategy, and a general broadcast licensing strategy is just basically how you license broadcasters. There must be a plan. You don't just go out. How do you engage them? How do you create awareness? How do you create compliance? How do you identify the works? How do you come up with a tariff, and so on and so forth? We've been able to come up with that within the first 30 days. We've been able to engage the broadcasters. We've been able to have broadcasters writing to us and saying, all are saying, we've received your letter, we'd like to play, when can we meet? All. None is saying, I will not pay for your license. And that's why when I said earlier that the problems are a thing of the past, because the broadcasters are not saying we shall not pay. None is saying that. So immediate results, first 30 days, we've come up with a broadcast licensing strategy. Second, we've come out with a general licensing strategy. And general licensing is the one where in public places, for example, hotels, restaurants, public service vehicles, and so on and so forth, we've come up with a strategy on how to effectively license these places because the compliance, quite frankly, had dipped, but no attempt to enhance it. So, we get more money in to pay out. So that has already been put in place, done. We've come up with distribution rules. Now, after you collect money, the essence is to be able to pay it out. You need to have a formula of how you pay it out. So we developed what are called distribution rules, which actually had already been discussed by the board. It's just now a matter of implementing them. And you'll see it in our newsletter, where we're talking about asking for members' opinion. So we have that public participation, where members are telling us, we've seen that you're going to collect money for us. Tell us how you're going to pay it out to us. In the same way, when you have in companies which have profits, how you share dividend, it's shareholders who sit and say, we've seen how much you've made, how are you going to share the dividends? We pass how, excuse me, the dividends will be paid out. So we're going through a member participation process so that they can tell us their views on how we shall pay their money. We've also added a calendar. Again, just so that we are held accountable. But then remember, we could keep quiet and just say, okay, we'll pay you tomorrow, pay you next month. We said, no, we want to be held accountable, and we've passed rules that put us to task and say, for example, during each AGM, we'll be making out a payment called a hybrid distribution. And a hybrid distribution is where we look at the catalog of our members' works, the weight of the catalog, and based on the weight or the number of songs that you have or albums, you get more money than someone who has less songs, and then we make a general payment to the rest. So we're going to be doing that at our AGM November 25th. That's just one example of the rules. Yes, I see you smiling like you're interrupted. Like there's a lot more, but basically if you go to our website, you'll see the rules that we've come up with to be held accountable. We've also come up with what I call alternative ways to license for the use of music, because
all this you're doing in 30 days?
Done.
Okay.
You've already
done.
All those are out. If you check the newsletter, it's already done. And that's why it was a continuation. But then in the next 30, we'll have completed the entire setup. Now it's just a matter of now implementation and, waiting. Tushapika, tunangoja sasa hivi. Those 70 days done. So now you'll see the results as we move forward. A key one, if I may just touch on this one, again, and please just have time to look at our newsletter. We've talked about alternative ways of licensing for the use of music. So for example, in matatus, you can imagine how many matatus there are in the country and how difficult it is to license the matatus. But what we've done is this: we're working with people who already have access to the matatus through music videos that are playing in the matatus. Now, they've been selling advertising spaces in those matatus. So we are going out to license the people who are providing those music videos and the advertising to say, let's work with you so that through you, we can also get part of the advertising revenue, so that we don't have to now charge the matatu. We instead get the advertising revenue and use that revenue to pay out the license fee for the matatu. Much cheaper much faster, much more effective. It's already in place.
Okay. And are you communicating this with the artists themselves or the members?
Yes. Now
So they know what's going on.
Exactly. That's why now in our newsletter.
Yeah.
But they, remember I told you 70 days, not even 100 days. So in the first 30 days, we put all those things in place, put them in a newsletter, so our members are already notified of what we want to do. Because, for example, in that Matatu project, it requires also the member to agree and say, yes, I want my music to be mixed in the Matatu. You'll see a notice by Kenya Corporate Board that was released recently that says that DJs, when they do a mix requires a license. If you go into the Corporate Act, you'll not see something called piracy. But in the Corporate Act, you'll find something called an illegal reproduction. Yeah. So you come on a Bugele time when guys in town used to be arrested when they had music in computers, in cyber cafes and whatever. Yeah. You remember that?
Yeah.
Now, that's piracy because content is supposed to remain in its original form. Whenever you move it to any other source, it's a reproduction. Any reproduction without the authority of the right holder is an illegal reproduction. Yeah. That is what you know as piracy. Yeah. So anytime you even do a mix, take it into another platform, you're already moving music from an original source to another platform. That's a reproduction. And especially when it's for commercial gain, that becomes now piracy, that it needs to be licensed. So part of the solution we're looking at is through our partnership with the company is called Nice Media. Again, the details are in the newsletter if you just need to know some more about it. Through that partnership, we'll be able to, one, collect much more money because advertising revenue is usually higher than our license fee. For example, our license fee is for one average Matatu, 6,000 for 1 year. 6,000 shillings. Through the advertising, we can make 30,000 through one advert in one Matatu in 1 month. 30,000. So look at the difference in the revenue that you can actually potentially make. Of course, you then have to remove costs and so on and so forth. But even after you do that, it's almost 5 times more what we would be making at less costs. And here, the point I'm just bringing is that we will be coming in with newer ways and better ways of collecting money, so we are able to save costs, pay more, and do value addition to our members.
Okay.
Yes. In less than 70 days, it will be done. Okay. Actually, in 30 days, it's already been done. Yes.
I like the vision. I like the vision, and there's a lot of things you're saying that are very appealing to the ears. Still on accountability, earlier on you said that you will involve the press a lot in your undertakings. How important is it for you to work with the press on, implementing your plan?
All right. We feel that the press, when they understand, first, I believe in the might of the pen. What's that saying about the pen is the might? Something about the pen and might and whatever. Yeah. But basically, for me, I fully understand the impact and the importance of the media, especially in the activities that we do. Why? Because the members we represent are mostly in these platforms. And when they hear and understand what we're doing, it's much better. And sometimes it's good that they hear it from let's call it an independent source, which is not the press, because part of what we would want is that media, we engage the media in briefings of what we're doing, and where the media are allowed into our rooms to see and experience. When you say you have distribution rules, show us the rules. Then they talk to members and say, hey, can you confirm that this is actually what is happening? We'd like that process. So for us, the media, we want that we work together so that you're able to verify and see what it is that we're doing. So the media is able to disseminate information in a very transparent way, not in a biased way, of what we're doing, and hold us accountable. But apart from the media, even with the Kenya Corporate Board, who's our regulator, we have written to them and made undertakings to them to open our accounts, open our transactions, to monitor our budget, to approve our budget, so that they see how much we are asking for. They see that we work within that budget. They see that, and they have systems now. There's a system that we license with that the Kenya Corporate Board has access to. So it's an open system where you see how much is coming in, you see how much is coming out. So in that accountability process, we'll even give you access to that system so that you can actually see that, oh yeah, you say you collected 1 million, we can see that that's what it is. You say you paid what X amount, you can see that's what it is. So we want to move to that level so that when maybe at a point you come across maybe information that is not correct of your own accord, you can say, but we saw something different, and you can verify that. Because if you publish anything that is not true and it's negative, it affects our business.
Okay. Other than all these policies that you're trying to amend, are there any other things or any other restructuring moves that you want to implement to sort of streamline the system?
Okay, so in the restructuring process, my first priority was our members. So we developed a balanced scorecard approach where we just identified 4 key issues within the balanced scorecard. Financials, which is a lot of what I've talked about. Learning and growth, meaning the personnel that we have, how do we improve their skills, internal processes, which again, there's a lot we are doing in that regard, and then finally the clients and the users. So for me, my priority has been in terms of the restructuring has been the members. How do we make our services better to them? So first, you see that I've talked about the rules. The key issue is money for the members' royalties. That is the key issue. That's why the first agenda was, are the rules in place? Is the calendar in place? So that now it's a proper system that a member understands this is how I shall be paid. But then within the rules, one of the things we've introduced is, for the first time ever, I think, in the world, we want to be making monthly royalty payments to the members. That has never happened anywhere. You'll see it happening. Hold me accountable. You'll see it happening.
So we come here after how many days?
Give us by December. That will happen because
90 days.
90 days. That's just because of purposes of collections. So when there's, remember I said that all the steps towards implementing are complete, but it needs down that process of kuiva. So for example, this proposal is in the rules. These rules go to the SGM, to the members. Once the members approve it, then we implement it. But in terms of drafting and everything else, we're already ready. Just waiting for members to approve. So we're moving to a monthly distribution payment for certain categories. And yet I'd ask that for the members and anyone watching this to please go to our website to see our newsletter, to see the rules which are in our website, because they're very detailed in calendar and all those things. So when you get it there, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So those are the payment, that's a key issue. So we address that. So members, first priority. All right. So in the restructuring process, first it was about the members, despite us identifying within the balance scorecard the 4 areas, members. So regular, identified, clear method of how you shall be paid, when you shall be paid. A clear movement towards spending as little as possible, so that we can distribute as much as possible. In that process, we're asking even the regulator to hold us accountable. We'll even ask the members to hold us accountable to see what are we collecting, what are we paying out, and that is already something that is in place. In addition to just being able to pay out royalties, we're also looking into the members' welfare, where we have already introduced a partnership with the Stanbic Bank, where we will be contributing 100 shillings for members in an account, which is also a life insurance policy, a life insurance, retrenchment cover, and a funeral cover. So within the life insurance, you get a cover of up to 950,000, funeral cover of 100,000, and then retrenchment cover of up to 450,000. This is already in place. So it's just a matter of members signing up and they qualify for this facility. In addition to that, in our negotiation...
So something you've already discussed with your members?
Already done. Oh no, we have the mandate from the board who represent the members. So the members had passed a social cultural fund of up to 5%, where we can use 5% of the funds for social cultural activities. So we've identified this as one social cultural activities. But regardless, we're saying, even if it doesn't fall into that class, we are able to contribute that 100 shillings per member into this account with Stanbic Bank, which is also provides those benefits, life cover, retrenchment cover, and funeral cover. Plus, gives members access to mortgages, loans, advances, and so on and so forth. Basically, better financial management that we are giving us value addition. So we're not coming just strictly as we are a CMO, we only collect for you and pay you and we leave you at that. No, we're looking further to see and how do we take care of other issues that affect members, such as this. So that process has already started. In fact, it's ongoing. Members have been notified through the newsletter. There'll be the process of just creating awareness for them to understand this is what we're doing, this is how it affects you. It will be discussed also at the SGM. If anything better is brought in, we shall take it up.
Oh, I like that you're taking a holistic approach to this thing. Now, away from work, you've said a lot about what you do. Maybe tell us what you do other than work. What else do you enjoy doing? Your hobbies?
Okay. So, with age, I've grown to love my me time. By the way, I love spending time at home.
When you spoke last, you talked about basketball.
I'm coming there.
Okay.
But my first priority now, I love my time alone at home.
Yeah.
I just love to watch movies, have a nice, I love food.
Yeah.
I'm a foodie. I love good food.
Yeah.
I live to eat. Like, if I waste a meal, I'm like, I've wasted my life for that day. So I love my space, my me time. So I'm usually home a lot, spend a lot of time in the house, self-entertained. But honestly, that's my pastime. Then now moving forward, I'm a basketball fan. So I watch basketball, play basketball a lot. I love chess as well.
Yeah.
I love the mind games in chess. You play chess?
I have tried before, but I'm not very good at it.
Okay, so Atakuonyesha.
Okay.
Chess is awesome. If ever you're studying for an exam and you have a mind block, or if you're writing and you have a mind block, if you just get into a chess game,
Chess helps.
It's the same as
Really?
the effect. The effect is that it takes the mind, and you're like, oh, I didn't see things like this.
Yeah.
That's the effect that chess has for me. When I was studying for my exams, law school and India, the truth is I'm not a bright guy, but when I'm focused on like one thing and I'm fresh reading it, I excel. I used to use chess, to just open my. Honestly, there's an effect it has on your mind. There's an adrenaline rush that once you just come out of it, you are so alert. So that's why up to now I love chess very much.
But you have to play with someone, no?
Of course, yes. You have to play with
Okay.
someone, but we can play the computer. But that's boring. You need that physical. So ukishinda mtu, it becomes like when Man City beats. You feel like when Man City beats Man U. Even if I'm an Arsenal guy, I am for that thrashing that they received yesterday. I'm an Arsenal guy. Very good weekend, by the way, for the soccer lovers. Excellent weekend. Oh, Arsenal.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, throughout the span of your career, you've displayed a lot of good qualities that have enabled you to qualify for all these big jobs. You have the enthusiasm, you have the drive, you have the knowledge of the industry. What other qualities do you think you have that have enabled you to, to last this long in this industry and be able to implement the things you've done and be able to do what you've done in this span of your career?
But it's just one quality that I know I possess. That if I had time and if this camera could move, I'd show you what it is. Have you heard of that principle about thinking outside the box? Yes. Have you heard of it? Do you know it's a science? Do you know thinking outside the box? Thinking outside the box. People think it's just think outside the box. It's actually a science. And later, if we have time, I'll just show you how it works. But basically, I think the one thing I possess, this one I can tell, is I do not think straight. I like to think different. Yeah. So that if I'm doing, for example, Talent Mtani show, for me when I was doing it, there were no rules. There were no that the judges must sit here, let's just go out of there and just have a free flow. Collecting royalties. Why don't we partner with establishments? Yeah. You understand? I think, I don't like to think traditionally. I like to think out of the box. And I think for me that stands out, because I think people look, or maybe let me say exceptional people. Someone who's keen looks out for that kind of thinking because it's just different from how you do things normally. For example, this interview, it's not okay. Other people do interviews, yes, but your approach today was, why don't we do it differently? Yeah. Why don't we talk to you in a different way? I like that. Even with my staff, I like people who think outside the box. So for me, my most outstanding quality, I'd say, is that. And after this, I'll show you the principle of thinking outside the box. And anyone who's watching can now Google it, because when you Google, you'll see it. But when I'm telling you now, you don't know about it. So when I show you, you'll be amazed. It's actually a scientific principle of how you think outside the box. For me, that's number one. Number two, you can see it. The passion, my passion just oozes from the heart. As in, I don't work unless I'm passionate. I am in this space just because I'm passionate about it. So that whether it's not even about the money, it's the love. Those two, I think I'm even able to pass it to people who are around me. So that if you see my colleagues now, they actually, the stake has grown in what we do. Those two, by the way, for me, stand out.
And what do you want to be remembered for?
So, imagine the number one is not actually something I've spoken about. Yeah. Do you know we're not proud to be Kenyans. Do you know that that's an issue that we have? And when you tell people that, they're like, what do you mean I'm proud? I'm proud. Yeah, just start talking to people, just look at it more deeply. You'll see why. And in other words, the one thing that I want to be remembered for, I'm actually going to achieve it. I began it, I didn't finish it, but I will. And together with what I'm doing, together what I'm doing here for the music industry, that's of course there. But the one that I am putting myself and saying, if this happens, this is going to be it, is something called Pride ya Kenya. All right, we started a bit of it. It's on digital platforms. You'll see it.
Okay.
Pride ya Kenya, and it's very simple. I don't know how much time you have because it's so important that the people I speak to say, "I hear you, I hear you." Then they do nothing. Then I say, "Yeah, this is it. This is exactly what my problem is with Kenyans." But we are not. We are one of the people who, honestly, if we were to measure pride levels, and there was something like a Richter scale that I could say this is the level, I think we're one of the worst ones. I'll give you examples. Oh, sorry. And even before I go there, I found out, or my theory is that it's not our fault. It's not our fault. It's part of the fault of what we're being fed, and that's why we are lacking in pride. This is how it starts. And as I said, I don't know how much time you have, but this is it for me. It's such an important issue that maybe when later you can come and I'll tell you what it is.
Yeah.
You see, when our forefathers said, "Mtoto mleavyo, ndivyo avukavyo," they are brilliant. Why? In a traditional setting, if you're raised in Nyanza, the Luo community, if you're raised near the lake, you're most likely you learn how to fish, how to swim. You remove your teeth because you're in that community. You have that accent of SS, that kind of thing, because you're raised there. So below Nalea, you're in that area, you sort of become like that. Yeah. If you're in Masai Mara, you'll be used to living a spear outside the home, and you enter the house because polygamy is something of the norm. Eating raw meat and so on and so forth is a normal issue. So what our forefathers were saying is that the way you raise your people within that space, that's what is embedded in their minds. That was brilliant. Fast forward to modern times. Today, when you raise your kids, I don't know if you have kids, any of you? Hey. Your kids. Today, when you raise your kids, using that principle of total level, you don't raise them on your own now. Now they're exposed to digital platforms, phones, TV, and so on, their neighbors and so on. So that it's no longer the lake, it's more of the apartment that you live in, or the hood, and it's more of what the people around there are saying, it's more of what they see on YouTube and so on and so forth. So, what is the news that what is the content that we see on this platform? What is it that our children are exposed to? One day, Hustler Dynasty. One day, show me a cartoon that has black kids. Show me a cartoon about Luanda Magere. Show me a series that is all about Kenyan pride. We want to put on the news, if it's movies, American movies, Captain America, He-Man, show me those things, but in an African context, in a Kenyan context. You understand? Where is stuff that were being shown from childhood about us. So, and I just said Luanda Magere because that's what I'm familiar with. That story was so interesting. But things fall apart in Nigerian. But My Life in Crime, Dedan Kimathi. But imagine a series like that acted by small, but it's something that you're watching and you're like, wow, this is nice. Awangari Madari feature and so on and so forth. Do you know how many stories of Kenyan achievements? Do you know how many there are as we sit here? Have you heard of that Kenyan who developed a robotic hand? Have you heard of the first Kenyan?
Yeah.
In this way. Thank you. Now you are a step ahead. The first African and youngest patent holder, Richard Turere. When you go to Masai Mara, you'll see flickering lights in Masai Mara. Just Google that story. You've done that story, yes. How many times does it feature? You did a story recently. That's a story of 14 years ago. Listen. This Richard Turere and so on, many other examples. We've done some research to show you how many things Kenyans have done, but where is it? So that every day on news, when you put on the news, siasa, corruption, business, nini, show me the news that starts. Have you been to the US? Go and see how those channels start in the UK. What we consume, what we're given, is that narrative. News does not sell it on the first page. You don't have a political story. Understand? News should sell on the first page when you hear about the Wimbledon African champion. That it should sell more. When you hear of these designers I'm mentioning, when you hear of this Omanyala, some people may not even know who Omanyala is in Kenya. This is amongst the top 10 fastest men in the country. But ask, everybody knows Usain Bolt, and they're not, or even that recognition is not there, that celebration is not there. Until one of my colleague the other day, Ezekiel Mtua, and I called him about what I'm doing with Pride Kenya. He posted and said, shouldn't Ferdinand Omanyala be the trending topic now? Shouldn't that be what is on news? Whether we're having elections or whatever it is, shouldn't that be what we're talking about today, because we should be celebrating this? Fast forward. So my concern is what is being fed to us Kenyans, and that's the principle where I said, mtoto mlema ndivyo akwavyo. If this is what we're being fed, if this is what we're associated with, so that maybe there's tribalism, maybe there's voting on patterns and so on and so forth. There are political stories, not much about celebrating the country. There's something called the Beda, B-A-E-E, hyphen, Menoff phenomenon. Beda Menoff phenomenon. Beda Menoff phenomenon is the equivalent of mtoto mleavyo, ndivyo akwavyo. What the Beda Menoff phenomenon says is this: the more you expose someone to a situation, the more you give information about anything to someone, the more that person believes it to be true. So it's a cognizance bias. It's a bias towards what you know. So I know how to fish. You think everybody is fishing. So I hear Hustler Dynasty, I hear this and that, I hear this, what I'm seeing, Siasa, America, the greatest country. Which kid does not think America is the greatest country in the world? My God, have you traveled around Kenya? Kenya is beautiful. My family is in the US. I prefer to stay here because for me, this is even better. But how many times do we see more of that? How many times do we celebrate Kenya? Up to the point that we are told to say, najivunia kwa Kenya. Why are you being told? Are you told to love your mother? I love my mother. Say I love my mother. Are you told that? No. You know you love your mother. Do you feel that you love your country, you yourself? Do you feel that in the same love that you have for your mom, in the same love that you have for Arsenal? How many Kenyans have killed themselves because the Harambee Stars lost? How many Kenyans have committed suicide because Arsenal lost? How many Kenyans have fought because Man U? If you're a soccer fan deep, just go and see how many times you lose your appetite.
Yeah.
You are bad mood because Man U has lost. People who are in another country that you'll never meet, but you're more passionate, the love is so real for them. Is that the same love that you, that's why I said you look at yourself and think, is that the same love you have for your country? Is that the same love you have when Harambee Stars loses? The only time when we have it is when rugby, Safari Sevens. Last try, Nini, we're all there. Hey! In Asia. Forget about it. In the Olympics, the national anthem that was played to the world at the closing ceremony twice was the Kenyan national anthem. Where is that being replayed? That's a historical moment. The world saw the marathon. Look at me, I should be Kipchoge and the lady. The last two national anthems were of Kenya. Did you see it on news like replayed and replayed? Do you know the effect you get when you hear your national anthem? Just try and remember when our national anthem is played. You know how you feel. Imagine replaying that on every day. Imagine if that was always a trending topic about what you're celebrating. The Beda Menoff phenomenon takes effect. It's a scientific issue. It's not our fault that we're not aspiring to it. It's just that that's not what we're being fed. So I spoke to Jalamo. He's a part of it. I spoke to Nameless. I spoke to Wahu. We launched Pride Kenya. We thought we'll get the country behind us. My God. Hey, even the corporates, even the media. I'm like, are you serious? This is something for your country. This is something for your kids. First, do you agree that it's a good thing? Yes, it is. You don't want to support it. Not even for the money, just to say, let's push that agenda. Yeah. Imagine, shockingly, it sort of died. And that's why I said, if I get to a place where I can push the Pride Kenya agenda to change what the country is feeding us, so that it's more of positivity, it's more of Richard Turere stories, it's more of the Wimbledon, it's more of Omanyala, it's more, trust me, you don't have to tell someone, be proud to be, you don't have to, just replay it. That's why, you know the stories about movies now, how movies pushing an agenda. You know the agenda. Yeah. You know the agenda they're pushing. Yeah. they don't tell you. They don't tell you, accept. They don't tell you. You're just watching a nice movie, a nice series, then, hey, love scene, then, hey, you're already into this character.
Yeah.
Then, Allah. But because you're already in love with this character, whether he's kissing the man or whatever, and even if you're opposed to gay, but you now love the character, it starts becoming normal. Because I love this character. You know how movies sink you in. You're taken in. It's science. It's science. That's why even if you go back on YouTube, if you listen to how some countries are colonizing or how they pass agendas, it's just in a salient way. What I'd want to be remembered for is if I'm able to create that movement that believes change simple, just the content that we're feeding Kenyans, feeding Africans. So we are proud, not told to be proud. So the sense of pride is instilled naturally. And that's how it should be. And now you know what? See, I told you I failed before because we launched it, I think last year, I can't remember. We launched it. On YouTube, we're registered, everything is done. We tried to kick it off. If you go on our Instagram, Facebook, you'll see we got a beautiful launch. But we failed because we didn't get good support and my finances were also limited, so I couldn't push it. I usually push, when I believe in an agenda for me, I push it up to whatever. I think I'll be able to push it now. One, from the position that I am in, and as I said, I spoke to Dr. Mtua and he loved the concept. You'll see us talking about Pride Kenya. You'll see in 40 years, your children, if we succeed, you'll see your children more and more aligning to issues of national pride. We need to be proud to be Kenyans. We're not. When we change that, I want to be remembered for that. It shall happen. Mark 9:23.
That's so powerful. Thank you so much. And I think maybe for the last question as we wrap up, I want your last word. I want you to speak to the Kenyan youth. The Kenyan youth. You're so passionate about the youth. Talk to the Kenyan youth out there who are trying to make ends meet, who are trying to change the narrative, who are trying to make something of themselves. Talk to that youth out there.
Really for the Kenyan youth, and this will be more of me just sharing a life experience or something that has worked for me, is number one, Mark 9:23. And it flows from those issues such as never give up. I put out in post, kuteleza sio kuanguka. For me, honestly, that and especially for the youth who are growing, just believe in yourself, believe in what it is that you want to achieve, because honestly, when you believe, you attract that positivity, you attract that energy that comes in. Other people see you believe in and even buy into what it is that you believe in, because once you apply the principle of Mark 9:23, but the things like passion flow, things like energy flow, and you can achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve if you believe.